Oh, well, Dave Andreychuk here, the 2004 Stanley Cup champion, and I'm with the 2020 Stanley Cup champion. They're not that long apart, really, when you think about it. A few years, but, there's still fans that did both, which they're very lucky, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are. Well, we're going to go a little bit back and forth here, Stammer, and I'll give you a couple of questions. You give me a couple of questions. We'll have some fun with it. The first one is, what is your go-to pre-game music?
That's actually a good question, Andy, because I'm not a huge music guy. So I usually let whoever's running the room do their thing. The guys always kind of make fun of me. I tell them that I drive around town with kind of old school with the radio off. And so I'm not you know what? My dad was a huge sports radio guy, the Fan 590 in Toronto growing up.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
He had that blasting all the time in the car. There was never any music, and I guess it just kind of stuck with me. How about you, though? What was your go-to?
Well, I would say for me, I'm similar, right? I am similar. I didn't really care until I got a little older. And then the music, listen, remember, I was 38, 39 years old,
yeah.
And they were 19, 20. I didn't like that crap, right? So I go back to old-time rock and roll. But I think eventually I settled in on, and you know how this goes, is that some guys are country and some guys are not country.
Yeah.
But eventually I think we all kind of figured out whoever's got the music. But I didn't really care, to be honest with you, what was on. I never listened to music on the way down. But I did stop some of the music that was going on. That's the only thing I did too.
Yeah, as the captain and older statesman, you have that power. Right. So
I was allowed to go over and turn it down or change it.
Yeah.
So that for sure.
Well, that's good. Well, I guess building off pregame music, how about pregame rituals? Anything that you did that you had to do before a game?
Nothing that I had to do, I know Marty St. Louis, right? Like, it was, I never really had something that I would do. If I did something and we won, I didn't have to do it the next day. I will say the only thing that, and I've told this story a few times is, early in my career, I had Red Berenson. You know who Red Berenson is?
Yeah.
Red is I don't know if he's still at, Michigan or not. But anyway, he was my first assistant coach. And, my first year I wasn't playing a lot. I was getting piped a little bit in the press box every, 5 games I'd get in. And I actually skated with him a lot. And I told him one time that I wasn't really feeling great. And he said, well, what you have to do is you got to go for a little walk. After your pregame meal, go for a little walk and lay down. And I would say that, Stammer, 1,700 and something games later, that's exactly what I did. Is I went for a little walk every day. Sometimes it was longer than others. Sometimes I took the dog. Sometimes I didn't. I walked on the road, to be honest with you. If the weather was fine, I walked on the road. So I guess my only really pregame ritual is that I actually did get a little walk in, no matter what.
Well, that seems pretty subtle, but something that was obviously part of your routine. So
yeah,
for me, I would say, again, I would say a little more complex than you were, Andy. Especially if we're winning, I'll, a couple of things, like I'll wear the same suit if we're, if it's up to the cleaning standards of my wife. But I remember one playoff series, I think it was on our 2011 run to the conference finals, my first real deep run. I think we rattled off. We were down 3-1 in the first round to Pitt. We came back. We won that series. Then we swept Washington in the second round. And then we won game 1 in the Eastern Conference finals against Boston. So I think, what was that? 7-8 games in a row. Yeah. And the guys were starting to get on me a little bit because I had the same pinstripe suit on every game. But I said, hey, we're winning. It's going well. So little idiosyncrasies like that. Nothing too crazy. For me, the Marty St. Louis of this team is Victor Hedman for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
Trying to keep up with that guy and his superstitions and routines. You find yourself sometimes just in the middle of it, and then you feel like you have to be part of it the next game.
100%,
Right.
100%.
So many guys get dragged in, and so many guys are chirping about the routines. They don't even know they're part of the routine now. Them chirping the routine is part of the routine.
Wow.
So it's really funny how that works.
Yeah. Marty and I, as you know, lived in the same neighborhood in New Tampa. So we would drive together. And of course, I had to leave exactly at 4:00.
Yeah.
Whatever the time was. Well, we ran into traffic on the 75 down. So I had to snake my way through Ybor City, down through downtown. Well, of course, Marty was first star that night. And a couple of goals, big win for us.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the next day, right, I had to find that exact same route, which I had no idea. I was just driving anywhere just to stay away from traffic. So thankfully, we lost that night.
Yeah.
We didn't have to do that again. Yeah, but he was definitely the worst that I've ever seen. So I thought this was a kind of a cool question, is that, like, if all the guys that on the team, or that, that are on the team, who would you trust the most to babysit your kid?
That's a great question. Obviously, I've played with some guys that I would never want to leave my kids alone with. Not that they're bad guys, but they probably had other priorities. And especially now that I have a kid, you really focus in on that. But there are certainly a few guys I'd say. Obviously, I'm really close with Victor Hedman. He has a son of his own now too, and just to see him progress as an 18-year-old kid coming in the league to where he is now, I would trust him with a lot of things. Another guy that I've known since I was really young too, who's on the team now is Luke Shen. Great father. He's got 2 young boys. And just kind of a great role model for them. Obviously, I played with Marty towards the end of his career, where you kind of played kind of in the mid of his career, and obviously him growing up and seeing his 3 sons now, and the amazing kids and young men that they have become. So, I mean, there's really no wrong answer, but those kind of guys, I guess, would stick out to me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would stay away from any one of our single guys that were on that team. Like, there's no chance. Yeah. That Vinny or Marty, Vinny or Richie or any of them are getting close to my families. And, we were a little bit older team than you guys. We had a bunch of kids on the team. So, you're kind of all the guys and the kids all got together. So, for me, I mean, obviously I was good friends with Tim Taylor. I knew his wife very well, and our kids got along. So I'm sure that I could have flipped over to his house and babysat. He could have came to mine, no problem at all. So, but you're right. There are certain guys I would not let in my house if I wasn't
there. There's a few guys you would go out for a beer with them, but they can stay away from the kids.
For sure.
To stay on the teammate trend here, who was the most competitive player off the ice? Away from the rink? I don't know if you guys had any team building stuff where this guy just hated to lose. Maybe it was cards or whatever. I would, I guess somebody that just did not like to lose. I mentioned him, Tim Taylor, I would think, is a guy that you wouldn't kind of think that. He's such a nice guy, but man, he's competitive, right? Like, and when we're playing cards, he's on it. Like, he is on it. If I'm turned away for a minute, he's right on me. Like, he's that card counter that, wants to win and take everybody's money. Yeah.
The unfortunate thing for Tim is he's really that competitive. But golfing, it's too bad. He's just, he tries, but he just, but he's competitive. He's competitive.
Yeah, I'd say, Marty was kind of like that too at the card table as he progressed throughout his career. He was always on it. If you made up the wrong move or if you played the wrong card, he'd let you know. I'd say now Hetty's like that too. And you mentioned the golf course too. Yeah. Hetty, he gets angry at himself on the golf course. Yeah. So usually we're on the same team, but when we're not, I know exactly how to get into his head, and it usually works in my favor because we've played together for so long. But I'd say, yeah, same thing. So competitive. And I mean, there's a reason why they're successful on the ice too, because of that competitiveness. But I'd say Victor right now.